This is part 2 of rendering our own tallow, and this has been in the fridge for 24 hours. So we're gonna do our second render. We're gonna be doing a dry render, which means we're just gonna melt this tallow down by itself, no water, no salt or anything. We're gonna put it in a pot over low heat and just make sure all the moisture comes out, and I'll show you what to look for. What I do is I'm just gonna try to pick out the sides, but honestly it's already gonna fall out, which is great. So what I'm gonna do is get this cutting board, and it already fell out. I'm very impressed. There's not much settlement, there's nothing at the bottom, which means there is water in this. So this is exactly why we do a few renders after we do our first. I don't know if you can see this, but there is some settlement at the bottom. What I like to do is scrape as much of it off. I just use a butter knife. I'm gonna wipe all this extra off. Now, if you're using this for cooking, you can render it down and put it in a jar and put it in the fridge and you'll be fine. But if you want to make this shelf stable, you do have to render this down at least 1 or 2 times to make sure all the moisture and water is out, because if not, this will mold. Next, all I'm gonna do is cut this open like so. I'm gonna cut this in 4 so this can fit in the pot. So actually very impressed by the center. She's looking really clean. Not even, she's hard in the middle, which is a very good sign. But I know there's moisture in this, so we're gonna have to render it down. So throw all this in a pot, add it to our stovetop. We're gonna put the heat on very low. We're just gonna let this melt down. We're gonna start getting these bubbles floating to the top, which is totally normal. And you're gonna start to hear some crackling, which is a part of the process. This means you're getting that water out and it's evaporating from this tallow. You want to keep going until the crackling and bubbling stops. Okay, for the most part, the crackling's done. I don't really hear any more noise. So I'm just gonna take this off the heat now. We're gonna strain it again like we did the first time. So you're gonna get your fine mesh strainer, put it in the same bowl. I like to get a paper towel and use it as a filter, and then get another fine mesh strainer. This is really just gonna help get all those impurities out. And then be careful, this is gonna be hot. And we're just gonna pour it in. And now we're just gonna let this strain. And we're just gonna keep repeating those steps that we just did today so we can ensure that all the water's out.